Hello, my name is Dr. Maddy Roth. I'm the owner of Inspire Pelvic Physical Therapy in Saginaw, Michigan, and owner of Roth Consulting Group. Today, I wanted to give a little bit of my backstory so I can get to know you guys, so you can get to know me a little bit and why I'm doing what I'm doing right now. So, I graduated from physical therapy school in 2020, so I'm a new grad. And I started off working for a local, basically. It's not all over the US, but in our area, it's kind of a chain. They've got a bunch of outpatient ortho clinics. They do a little bit of pelvic health. I mostly was doing ortho there, and I was starting to feel really burnt out. I know a lot of PTs, a lot of my PT friends feel the same way, where it's a push and pull. Most PT companies are really at the mercy of insurance companies where they have to bill a certain amount so they can pay their therapist. I totally understand it. If I were in that business model, yes, that is what you need to do. But as a PT, it is a recipe for burnout. So you have these requirements, and a lot of PTs are really high achievers. And when they're not meeting those requirements, it's really disappointing and frustrating. So I got to the point where I just felt like each week I wasn't hitting the billing requirements set by the company I was working for. I felt like I couldn't hit them unless if I did something that wasn't ethical, and I wasn't prepared to do that. Some of it was the setting I was in. I didn't have admin support most of the time. I had to check patients in. I was in like a gym where I'd be treating patients in the pool and then out on land and just running around. So it was very difficult to double book and hit the requirements. And as a type A person, overachiever, this was really disappointing when I couldn't meet these metrics. And so really what changed was my son, and he's 2 right now. He is the reason behind everything I do. So just know that's it. It's James, my 2-year-old. So my whole business, Inspire, Roth Consulting Group, it's all for him. But back to my story. So I got pregnant with James and was thinking, I don't know if I want to go back to this job. Like, I was feeling so burnt out. What am I going to do? Should I go back? I started interviewing at some other PT clinics, and I realized it's not better at any other PT clinic. Everyone that bills insurance is having to do the same thing, the same requirements, unattainable expectations so they can pay their therapists. So I decided to just stick it out with a company I worked for, and I thought, well, maybe I'll go down to 32 hours, still considered full-time. I wouldn't feel probably as burnt out because I'd have time to document at home. I could hit my units if I could stay over a little bit with patients or work through my lunch, and yeah, it would just give me a little time to breathe. So when I was on maternity leave, I started looking at things differently and realizing how burnt out I was. When I got back in there, I still was feeling pretty refreshed, I guess, when I got back, and going down to 32 hours made a big difference. It felt so good to be back at work. Finally, I decided I was ready to start working 40 hours again. Like, I was that revived. But I thought, I don't want to go back to the mental state I was in and that grind. What if on Fridays I started my own business? That would be so fun. And it had always been on my bucket list to start my own business. I didn't know how it would work or what I would provide. I even went back and forth with, should I switch to being a massage therapist? I could do massage therapy on Fridays, or what? And then I started to see other pelvic health providers charging cash for their services. And I had always been interested in pelvic health, but I didn't do it. So believe in yourself, people, because I'm new to pelvic health too, and I'm doing it. So that'll be a different episode. So really, I was inspired by other pelvic floor PTs and OTs that I saw running cash practices all over the US. You see them on these Facebook pages, and I'm like, holy cow, I should do this. This is great. And pelvic health seems so interesting. I've always been interested in that because I played sports in high school and in college, I just realized how much you can do with patients, how much it is like training for a sport, getting leakage to go away and actually getting functional with patients and having them run and lift heavy and seeing how you can tweak their form to get rid of leakage or prolapse or what have you. So, okay, my plan was Fridays, I'm going to see my own patients, and then I'd have the flexibility if I wanted to not do it. I wouldn't have to. If I wanted to see a few, I could. If I wanted to see a couple in the morning and then head up north for the weekend, that'd be chill. But I did not want to add a day at my current job just because I knew what that was going to look like. It was going to be an 8 to 5 and back-to-back patients. And I wanted to have a little more flexibility over it, check something off my bucket list, and probably make a little bit more money on that day of the week. So I opened my PLLC, and I didn't really want to do mobile. I just think that's sometimes a harder sell to find patients, but that can be a different episode. But that's fine if you do that. I wanted to have my own little spot in Saginaw, Michigan. Rent is dirt cheap. You can find a little spot. I got my own place with a huge waiting room, a little room. It's going to be $500 a month. And I'm like, all right, I got this. Like, I need to see maybe a patient a week to cover all my overhead. I'll just use my laptop. I can use Google Docs. And there's really no overhead besides my rent. And I'm like, okay, so I do need to see a patient a week. If I don't, whatever, my current job, I can pay for it with the extra money I'm working at my current job. Alrighty, so that's my plan. I get the place and no patients yet. Well, I decided I was starting to feel a little guilty. I was like, okay, here's the thing. There are 3 other therapists that I know for sure that have their own business in the company I'm working for. We don't have non-competes. I was like, okay, someone does mobile. A couple of them do mobile pelvic health. One of them had their own brick and mortar. And so I was like, I don't think it's a problem, but I feel like I should be like open that I'm doing this. So I emailed my boss and I was like, just so you know, on Fridays I'm going to be seeing a couple of my own patients, doing my own little LLC. And he responded back and he was like, although we aren't supportive of this, we don't have any rules against doing this. So I was like, all right, cool, I got this. And I kind of went along. At that point, I had taken some of the Herman and Wallace classes. I was doing half day a week of pelvic health for the company I worked for. I really wanted to do full-time pelvic health, but they didn't want me in full-time for pelvic health. They liked me kind of running the show at that ortho clinic that I was at alone. So I was ready for my Fridays, started to market a little bit and try to get some patients, still had none. And then all of a sudden, I get a call from my boss and he's like, Maddy, you've been doing really well. We want to give you a raise. And I was like, cool. Like, I thought I had just gotten a raise, but I was like, okay, like, that's really, really sweet. I was feeling pretty flattered. And he said, the only stipulation with this raise is we want you to work Fridays again. And I was like, thank you so much. Like, I know they need more help at the clinic, like anywhere. There's a shortage of PTs, so I understood. They wanted me for more hours, but I was like getting kind of excited. I had my own place set up already. And I was like, no, I really appreciate it, but I am really excited about having these Fridays to do whatever I want, and I will just stay at the same salary that I'm at right now. Okay. So, week goes by, show up to work. There's the boss and the CEO right there in the clinic. And I'm always there alone, besides sometimes admin support a couple hours a week. I'm like, okay, I'm getting fired. I just knew right away. And basically, you're being fired for starting Inspire Pelvic Physical Therapy. And you need to pack up your things right now. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I have an eval in 5 minutes. Like we need to call these patients. Like they're going to be showing up. Cause like last night when I looked, my schedule is still up, and they're like, don't worry about it. We canceled all your patients. It just looks like you had them on their schedule. And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm like, am I supposed to leave now? They're like, yep. So I packed up all my stuff. It was interesting as they watched me pack it all up. The boss and CEO had to go to a couple of different rooms in the gym and grab like my cones that I had brought from home and a bunch of stuff I had from home. Some of it I didn't even grab. Like I had this big table thing. I'm just like, all right, I'm not going to try to load this while they're like watching me load my stuff. And they were saying things to me that were quite threatening. Like, we're going to be searching through your laptop. If we find anything that you have taken from us or stuff like that, our lawyers will be contacting you. I'm just like, what? Lawyers? I'm like, okay. In that moment, you feel really like self-conscious. Like I was like, oh crap. I was on Walmart.com. Like sometimes when my patient was on the bike, like doing a grocery order, I'm like, is that like illegal? I don't know. Like, you start thinking like, I don't think I've done anything like illegal, but like, I don't know. I was on Walmart.com. Like I have logged on to Facebook before. Like, is there some way like I can get in trouble for that? Like I know I've been on Facebook on my laptop. So I'm like thinking, what are they going to find on my laptop? Oh my goodness. So anyway, I get home. Well, I cried, of course. I was really sad. I know I'm talking about it really matter of fact right now, but it was really heartbreaking because I felt really betrayed, mostly by my boss, not the CEO. I wasn't super close with him, but I still have nightmares about it. Just the fact that I felt like I was deceived a little bit, and I thought my boss would stick up for me or at least have a conversation with me before, like, hey, we don't approve of you running this business. Like, if you don't shut it down, we're going to fire you. Like, at that point, like, I really wish we would have had that conversation because I was kind of just doing this as a little side gig on Fridays. So anyway, I get fired and I had a fire up my butt after that. I just feel so hurt and betrayed by this. And also, I felt very flattered by it because I was like, wow, this huge company in my area is threatened by me having a small pelvic health practice, like to the point that they fired me. And there's several other girls in our company that didn't get fired for having their business. The CEO knows about those businesses for sure. I don't know if he knows about the brick and mortar one, but he knows about the other ones. So I'm like, okay, he must be more threatened by me. Okay, I got this. But also, I had no patients at this time. So I was like freaking out. So I go to my clinic space and I I just pace around because I'm like, wow, got the babysitter at home. Like, what am I going to do with all my time? I need to find a job. I don't have any patience for this business. I was just going to see a few on Fridays. So I started applying to other jobs. I applied to a couple home health jobs and I applied to a couple outpatient ortho jobs. And I could not freaking get a job. It was ridiculous because I had been fired. If you've been fired, it is very difficult to find a job. So the hospital system, one of the first things on the application was, have you ever been terminated? And my resume just gets rejected like right away. Like no one had even looked at it. It's just like, that's a question that flags. And so I didn't get the job at the hospital. The couple home health ones, the one home health one had like a weird non-compete type thing. And I was like, well, if I'm going to see a few patients, like I don't want to like even go there because like at this other job, I didn't even have a non-compete and I got fired. So that one I talked to them and asked if we could talk about that, remove that clause, and they just ghosted me after that. Like they didn't want the drama of having to like change their legal paperwork. And yeah, so at that point we have a baby at home. My husband has a good job, praise God, but we do rely on both of our incomes. So I was like, okay, should I maybe be a massage therapist? What should I do? It was really, really scary. I thought maybe we were going to have to downsize our house or just live off my parents a little bit, like get a loan from them. What are we going to do? So, yeah, just wanted to take a second and just say, yeah, it was very, very hurtful. I can't imagine firing an employee and threatening them too. So after this all happened, I'm looking for jobs. I get a letter from the company's lawyer. It was just like a scare tactic. A lot of things that weren't true. And I had my lawyer look at it because I'm like, what the heck? Like, am I going to get sued? I don't think I've done anything wrong. Like, this isn't true. This stuff in this document, like, okay. None of that stuff in there was something you could be sued for. But anyway, it freaked me out. I was like, my life is over. Like, there's lawyers coming after me, and I don't even know what I've done wrong, and I have no patience, and we have no money, it feels like. So I talked with my husband, and we came to the decision we could make it a few months with me not having any income. Really, the startup costs of the business are very minimal. And so I just decided to go for it. I was so motivated after having this terrible thing happen that nothing was going to stop me. I was going to will myself to make this work. Finally, one day, I had a girl from church ask if I could dry needle her for cash. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have a patient. So from there, it just snowballed. She left a Google review and I just got my feet wet. All of a sudden, I got another call. Shout out to my first patient. I didn't tell her she was my first ever patient. I might in hindsight, but she took the bait. I didn't think she was going to pay cash. I didn't know if anyone would. I didn't know if this business model would work in this area. I'm in a very heavily insurance-driven area, really low income, and I was getting patients after patients, and I was so scared to go in these doctors' offices, but I knew I had to do it. I just envisioned my baby every time, and I was like, if I'm going to support my family, I have to do this. I have to just walk in here and just go. Same with workshops. I hate public speaking. I have stage fright. I have so much anxiety. I'll probably do an anxiety podcast at some point, and you'll see how crazy anxious I am. But I knew I just had to do it. You do what you have to do when you're a mom for your kid. You do it. And so, yeah, James was my motivation. I had to just do it for him. And I did have a fire under my butt too, because I felt that I had been wronged. In hindsight, though, thank you, God, that this happened. Because if I hadn't been fired, I don't know where I would be. So praise God that I was fired, and this allowed me to grow a huge practice and help other people do the same. So that is my story of how I got here today and grew the practice.